I do go tomorrow, because I haven't gone today yet. I hate going to doctors. I went to the doctor, I said, I have a sore foot. He says, don't worry, I'll have you walking in no time. He was right. I had to sell my car to pay his bill. I told my doctor I broke my arm in 2 places. He said, don't go to those places. My wife went me to the doctor. She said to the doctor, I don't like the way my husband looks. She says, but it's okay because he's good to the children. I went to a doctor who said, I have bad news and I have worse news. I said, what's the bad news? She said, the bad news is you only have 24 hours to live. I said, that's terrible. What could be worse than that? He said, I meant to call you yesterday. So I went to a different doctor. This doctor gave me 6 months to live. Then he gave me his bill. I said, doctor, I can't afford this. So he gave me another 6 months. One doctor I went to, he told me to get undressed. Then he said, you are the filthiest, the dirtiest, the smelliest patient I've ever had. I said, that's what the doctor said yesterday. So the doctor told you that yesterday and you came to me? Why? I wanted a second opinion. I have a friend, he was telling me a story when his grandmother was 60 years old. The doctor said that she should walk 5 miles a day. Now she's 90 years old and nobody knows where she is. I said to the doctor, I'd like a vasectomy. He said, with your face, you don't need one. I loaned a friend of mine $10,000 for plastic surgery. Now I want my $10,000 back, but I don't know what he looks like. The dentist examined the woman. He says, I think I'm gonna have to pull your wisdom teeth. He said, pull my wisdom teeth? I'd rather give birth. He said, well, let me know what you decide so I can adjust the chair. Waiting to see a doctor is really sometimes the worst part of it. One time I was waiting to see a doctor and a nun ran past me screaming. I said to the doctor, what happened? He said, well, I told the nun she was pregnant. I said, you told the nun she was pregnant? That's cruel. He said, maybe it was cruel, but I cured her hiccups. Then another woman walked in. She was totally bent over. She could barely walk. She was bent over and walked in to see the doctor. When she came out, her posture was perfect. She looked terrific. I said, doctor, it's a miracle. What did you do for her? She said, I gave her a longer cane. The doctor put a stethoscope to my chest, and he's listening to my breathing. I said, well, doctor, how am I standing? He says, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Doctor, I have a ringing in my ear. He said, well, next time you hear it, don't answer it. I told the doctor I was having trouble with my lovemaking. He said, well, that's because you're out of shape. What I want you to do is, I want you to run 10 miles a day for the next 14 days. 14 days later, I call up the doctor. I said, doctor, you were right. I feel great. I lost all my weight. I feel terrific. He said, well, I'm glad to hear that. And how's your lovemaking? He said, I don't know. I'm 140 miles from home. Doctor, every morning when I wake up, I look in the mirror and I start throwing up. What's wrong with me? He said, I don't know what's wrong with you, but your eyesight's perfect. A man goes into a pet shop and says, I want a pet that's going to be a companion to me and help me out. He says, well, how about a dog? He says, no, a dog is too much work. I don't want a dog. Well, how about a cat? A cat is too independent. I don't want a cat. How about a centipede? A centipede? I never thought about a centipede. All right, I'll take a centipede. Brings a centipede home. He says to the centipede, go clean up the kitchen. Centipede goes in the kitchen. 20 minutes later, a man goes in. The dishes are all done. The counters are polished. The floor is polished. He never saw the kitchen look so good. He said, now go in the living room and clean up the living room. Centipede goes into the living room and cleans up the living room. He goes in 20 minutes later, and there it is. The carpet's vacuumed, the furniture's all dusted. He never saw his living room look so good. Then he said to the centipede, now do me a favor, go down to the corner and give me my newspaper. 10 minutes go by. 20 minutes go by. 30 minutes go by. No centipede, no newspaper. He opens the door to see what's going on, and there's the centipede sitting there. He said, I told you to get me a newspaper 30 minutes ago. He said, don't worry, I'll get you your newspaper. I'm putting my shoes on. Man, I was walking down the street the other day and I see a sign in front of someone's house, talking dog. I said, talking dog? I knock on the door. He said, I'd like to see a talking dog. He said, he's in the backyard. I go in the backyard and there's a dog sitting there. So I said, are you the talking dog? He said, yes, I am. He said, wow. He says, tell me your story. He says, well, when I found out that I had this gift of talking, I went to my master and told him about it, and he went to the government, and the government enrolled me into the CIA. I traveled all over the world. I was a spy. I met with world leaders. I traveled to almost every country. And then I met this other dog, and I came home, and we had puppies, and now I'm retired. He said, that's an amazing story. You traveled all over the world, and you met world leaders? Yes, and I prevented a lot of wars, too. That's amazing. So I went over to the owner of the dog, and I said, I'd like to buy this dog. How much is it? He says, $10. I said, $10 for a talking dog? Why so cheap? The dog is a liar. He never did any of those things. My last joke talks about a man that was in the hospital. He's in the hospital for 30 days. He's had enough. He can't take it anymore. He sneaks out of the hospital and goes down to the local bar. When he's in the bar, he orders a drink. Then he orders another drink. 14 drinks later, he says to the bartender, you don't know what I got. Bartender says, what do you got? He says, I got no money. Thank you.